going on? What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of What the Game Means to Me. I'm your group report, John Brown. With me today again. Now, again.
Yeah, I went in and out. How you guys doing? Ready to talk some ball? Ready to talk a little bit about Kobe? Let's get to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, of course, you guys start off the day. Not something we probably both either want to talk about, but it's a pretty sad day, pretty sad moment for us. Of course, like I said, with it being 1 year, I guess anniversary of Kobe's passing, Gigi's as well, and then, the other passing on the helicopter. Doesn't feel like a year at all. I know with the mixture of COVID and everything, it's not good whatsoever. Um, you got me, Dave? I'm better now.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, like I said, it's definitely not something we probably want to talk about, but of course maybe we can give some happy moments. Of course, I'm gonna play a few clips from the jump. While me and Dad kind of just talk about the thoughts that kind of was going through our mind maybe a year ago when we heard this, where we were. Just some of our fondest memories of Kobe. So I'll let you start off first. Kind of like, what did Kobe mean to you? Your favorite moments, favorite plays, favorite dunks by him.
Yeah. My favorite moment in dunk was I saw it years later, but the dunk over Ben Wallace when he was a young pup, maybe his first or second year in the league. Especially his dunk on Dwight, because that was my favorite player growing up as a kid. Kobe, man, he was different, man. He inspired everybody to be great. He was just a guy, like, he inspired you not to be lazy. He showed what work ethic is. He was the embodiment of hard work. He just showed you how successful you can be if you dedicate yourself to a game to a certain extent. He was greatness. LeBron, I will always say this, LeBron's my favorite player ever, but the first player I ever really knew of, like that guy, was Kobe. And where I was on the way back from Florida with my brother. We went to go visit my grandpa because my school is like 3 hours from Jacksonville. And I think my brother I was driving. I was looking at my phone. Sometimes I'm not supposed to, but I do. And I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw a TMZ post saying Kobe Bryant passed away. And it said a minute ago. So I'm like, nah, that's bull. I log out. I refresh it again. Then I start seeing more stuff while I'm driving, and it just kind of like sets in. Like at first I'm sad, but as the night goes on and you get more details about his daughter and stuff, it just gets sadder and sadder, and how many people he affected, and just how many people are feeling worse than me. It's like you said, man, it doesn't even feel like a year. This year's going by so fast. It's pretty crazy, and it just, it shocked the whole world, like literally the world, not the U.S. He impacted everybody. So, prayers up to the family. Kobe was a legend. He impacted many people more than he impacted me. Some people are playing the game of basketball because of him. So his influence around the world is just unmatched. And sad moment, real sad day. Thinking about it a year later, it just doesn't seem real to me. That's all I really have to say. I'm still in not complete shock, but I'm not gonna get used to this anytime soon.
Yeah. Same here, honestly. Like you put it perfectly. With me, I was I guess it's a little ironic. I was on the way to a coach's meeting. I coach at Swanee Sports Academy, so I'm on the way there, and I walk in the building, and one of the guys that worked there, it's like, "Hey, you hear about Kobe? He passed." I said, "What?" I said, "Kobe Bryant? Like, you're talking about Kobe Bryant?" He's like, "Yeah, Kobe Bryant." So yeah, TMZ just said. I was like, I'm not going to pretty much believe TMZ. To me, I don't know. They're not as reliable all the time. They're always trying to get stuff out first. So I didn't really want to believe it. So I was like, you know what? It's whatever. I'm going to kind of go about my day. But then as we're in the meeting, people start kind of checking their phones and, getting buzzes from ESPN, CNN, and all these other places, and news outlets. They're like saying, yeah, it's true. He was on the helicopter and unfortunately it crashed, and it was more than likely, carrying him, Gigi, and some other passengers on the way to a game. So it was just shocking overall. Everybody kind of in the room, couldn't really focus on the meeting. It was all just a shock. Just like, there's no way this could have happened. There's no way it was Kobe Bryant. Like maybe by some miracle, like we'll get some news later on, and he'll tweet something out, or he'll just something on ESPN or some type of message going, I'm okay, I'm fine. But fortunately, that time never came. The news was true, so um, it was really sad. Actually, after the meeting, I went back home, and I was in like this little basketball league, and the whole day people just retweet things that they remember from Kobe, different dunks, highlights, quotes, um, interviews he's had, everything. And I'm on the, I'm like you just said, I probably shouldn't have been doing it, but looking at my phone on the way to this game that I was going to play that night. This little adult league, and I just started falling on crying. I don't know what came. I just really couldn't hold it in. It was all just too much and surreal for one day, one moment. So, for me, like you just said, we both LeBron guys. LeBron's always been a guy, but Kobe has meant a tremendous amount to me. Like I remember when I was little, my granddad used to always say I look like him. I didn't even see it, but he would always say I look like him. And then I remember my mom. I meant to get it out for the day, but she first poster ever I even had up on my wall was a painting of Kobe and Shaq, portrait style, and then I had like another banner of his from his MVP year. So I was always, looking Kobe. I always loved, his game, loved his mentality, obviously his mom's mentality, just being the best and never giving anything less. So he's always been a tremendous amount to me. Even with football being my favorite player. Mother's favorite team is the Lakers. I've always watched the Lakers and have a bunch of family that love the Lakers. So, he's always been. So you can just pretty much just look up to and always expect, stuff like this that we're seeing right now, highlight plays, and just to give his all for, just to make sure his team is in the best position to win. So, like we're saying, a year has gone by just too. I can't even process it. I didn't even really realize till yesterday. That's when the group that's talking, saying that it's going to be a year today. So, you know, unfortunately, and still, a lot to take in. It's still surreal. We never thought it'd be him. Always thought, from without his years. Like we see the legends nowadays. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and a few other guys, Bill Russell, and all them, living to be old, still around the game, still at the games, still sports networks and talking and everything. I always thought that would be him, and unfortunately, I feel like, obviously he was it's like a little too early, along with Gigi and all the other passengers. It just feels like we're all kind of cheated out of greatness because he was just starting that next chapter of his life, and so much more was to come from him. Versus obviously he put so much into the game. We knew he was putting a lot into the game for women's basketball and everything. He always gave them their flowers. And obviously with Gigi kind of following his footsteps, we knew she was destined for greatness as well. So, obviously shout out to Kobe. For another sad moment, kind of making me feel like can't even really get through the rest of this show, honestly. But like I say, just gotta honor him. Another legend, someone I know that meant a lot to both of us, and like you said, he impacted the world. But unfortunately, that was the memorial of his unfortunate death today. But we also had another passing this past week as well. While we all were off there, Hank Aaron, another Braves legend, civil rights legend, Atlanta legend as well. Just meant a lot to sports in general. So I know you might have a few words, something that he meant to you, just to our city and the Braves organization as a whole. Being a former home run king, but also bringing light to, bettering the African American community while he played.
Yeah, he paved the way, man.
Yeah, with me, I guess a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't really like but you just when you grow up, you hear about the major figures, major African American figures in the sport, especially baseball. So one, Jackie Robinson, I always used to do projects on him, but I think Aaron was pretty much next in line, home run king. Um, he was getting death threats and everything because he was about to pass Babe Ruth. Home run record, just crazy stuff like that. And then him, like I said, I forgot. It was either an interview or an excerpt that I read in the magazine. Pretty much him realizing that he had to pretty much like kind of step up in the African American community and make things better for them because he was becoming a public figure. He was becoming obviously a big name, household name in the sport of baseball. So, everything that he's done, I know even as of recently, like a year or two ago, he sat with the Hawks. And Trae Young said the other day that, well, he came a point short, but he wanted to score 44. He wanted to win that game. Comeback effort pretty much won that game for Hank Aaron because it was the same day of his passing. So I know he's touched everybody from young to old, and just another life that will be missed and one that can just be celebrated at the end of the day. So of course, shout out to Hank Aaron, and I appreciate all your work that you did on it as well. And lastly, we actually starting at the show real sad, honestly, really, really sad. But lastly, we got that's what I'll say. We got one more, unfortunate death. Another life taken too soon. I think this one was actually from COVID. Hank Aaron's was actually, I think, just of old age. It was rumored to be COVID, but it wasn't. But Sekou Smith, another young African American professional. Most known for writing for the NBA, being an analyst for the NBA, worked for NBA TV, for Turner Sports, NBA.com. I know he does NBA Game Time show as well, NBA TV. So another life lost too soon, and to COVID, which tells you that this stuff is still real out here. So obviously, it's nothing to play with. We should continue to be safe and doing the necessary steps to not help ourselves, but our loved ones and other people around us to fight through this and eventually get back to normal days. So rest in peace, Sekou Smith, and thank you for all the things that you've done, paving the way for younger journalists, especially younger African American journalists that's following in your footsteps. Even with us doing this podcast, he's kind of, inadvertently, so we might not have known or talked to him or anything, but has helped us even be able to do things like we're doing now, and maybe be able to be recognized and seen, and get this thing to bigger heights. So thank you, Sekou Smith, for everything that you've done, and rest in peace. Anything you had to add that?
Rest in peace to a young black brother, like you said, a guy that paved the way. He's one of the guys that give people like us trying to find a platform in the communications and journalism world the opportunity. We look up to people like him. Unfortunately, he was part of the Magic's PR staff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But RIP to a young brother. I don't really have much to say about it, but it's sad to hear. This COVID stuff is real, man. You got to take it seriously.
Exactly. So again, started the show not on the greatest note, but of course I had to honor these guys, these legends, and just people that helped pave the way for people that are in the game now and even coming up as well. So appreciate you guys, Kobe Bryant, Hank Aaron, and Sekou Smith for sure. Next, we're going to, of course, move on to the games that we had this past weekend. We had the AFC and NFC Championship games. We'll start off with the NFC, of course. Brady and Aaron again. Unfortunately for Aaron, it didn't pan out the way that I'm sure he and other backup fans would have. It's his fourth straight NFC Championship loss, 3 in the last 5 years. So what did you think? Well, I guess first before we get into the details of it all, what did you think about this game? And kind of how do you figure, I guess, the Bucs would do in the Super Bowl? Like I said, I know it's later details, but start off how what you thought about the game and everything that played out.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the Super Bowl part with the Bucs later, but man, I'm just disappointed. For one, our prediction was wrong. I had the Packers by double digits. I mean, the game was right there for the taking. The Bucs, they played okay. Their defense played well in spots, especially. Their defense had a heck of a game. Cowboys played a good game. I had to call it a good game. But the Packers, man, they just blew the game in small, like important situations. The pass before half, the fourth down conversion before that pass, the fumble on the first drive of the third quarter. The defense forced Tom Brady to throw 3 picks in the second half, and 2 of those drives they went 3 and out back to back. You know, you got to capitalize. It was a good game though. It lived up to the hype for the most part. Nice comeback. But Aaron Rodgers, he played a good game, but he wasn't great in the spots where he needed to be. Like, he's a legendary quarterback, and he needed to be great in those spots. The defense stepped up for you. They made Tom Brady look a little bit older, you know, in the second half, and he just had to capitalize. You can't go 3 and out. But, you know, credit to Todd Bowles. The defense played well. They made some plays. Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett were giving Aaron Rodgers fits all day. I think they had 5 sacks as a whole. Levante David and Devin White are swimming to the ball as usual, and Murphy Bunting made a nice little play, even though he was holding. But, you know, Packers you got to be better in situational football. Like, those are the 2 minutes before half is where Tom Brady and Belichick, they used to thrive. Now it's Tom Brady thriving in that situation. But Kevin King, man, you can't get beat deep. You can't get caught looking inside. But Mike Patton, you can't call cover 1 in that situation either. So it's a bad call by the D coordinator and the player. And even Matt LaFleur said you can't call that in that situation. So, you know, kudos to the Bucs for winning the game. But the Packers, you can't play bad in those situations. And also, lastly, to talk about it, that I kind of agree with them kicking the field goal because of how the Bucs stopped it. They had 3 chances before to get at least a yard, and they didn't get anything. But with the game on the line like that, and you having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, I think you give it a shot from the 9. You know, his arm strength is top tier, so I'm pretty sure he could fit a ball in there. They would just have to make a play. And, you know, they kicked the ball, and depending on their defense to get a stop, and they couldn't, and Tom Brady and them ran out the clock. A little bit of a ticky-tack holding call, even though it was a holding call, but they've been letting them play all day, so I feel like he should have let that slide in that situation. Yep. But I don't know. You know, like I said, kudos to the Bucs, but the Packers, they had the game in the bag. To me, it was there. It was right there for the taking, and they didn't get it done.
Yeah. You got a few of the things I wanted to ask you, which was about the holding calls, which we'll probably still get into in a second, and then also you know, the decision to go for the field goal versus the 4th down. And you just gave your answer, but I have more questions about it. But to get, I guess, into the game for me, like you said, we both were wrong about it. I think I spent like 7 or 10 as well, something like that. But I thought the Packers were definitely going to be, you know, come out and be ready for this matchup because they didn't want a repeat of Week 6 and also not a repeat of what they've experienced the last 3 out of 4 times, maybe 4 out of 4 times now, going to the NFC Championship game. But you know, they started out kind of like the same way. You know, mistakes was made, especially going down the stretch. Obviously, in the first half, like you said, King can't be caught looking in the backfield, and that's exactly what it was. Like, he was just staring the backfield down. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, Scotty Miller was literally just running a stream route. Like, he's coming up the seam or down the sideline. So, like, obviously get back in coverage. But again, like you said, it's also on the defensive coordinator. That was a terrible defensive call in the half. So, but then also to start the second half, unfortunately, Aaron Jones, it was a great play by the DB, but Aaron Jones, you know, fumbling the ball. He had one earlier that he was lucky to recover, but, you know, that's just not the way you want to start the second half as well. Already going, you basically just gave him 2 touchdowns in less than 2 minutes. And it could have still been a 14-10 game. You could have come out at halftime, drove to either, you know, kick a field goal or score a touchdown. It might have been different, you know, a different story from there. You know, 14-17 or 14-13 is a lot different than 28-10. Even though they did come back. The one thing that was making me mad though on social media, everybody was like, "Game's over, game's over." I'm like, it is not over. Like, chill out. Like, you know, I don't know who they think Aaron Rodgers is as a quarterback, but you're not gonna just, you know. I know it was a different story Week 6, but you're not gonna just lay down, especially in another NFC Championship game.
Not at all.
Where like, basically means a lot to his legacy because like now everybody knows. Well, now there's other names that's coming up. You know, these young cats, obviously Deshaun, Patrick, Lamar. Like, there's guys that names are circulating a little bit more about possibly obviously taking the reins and being of GOAT status soon to come. Like, he's not, you know, the one that's in basically the limelight. Patrick kind of like taking that spot. So pretty much for him it's like all about legacy right now. We know he has that 1 Super Bowl ring, but there's been so many chances and opportunities for him to earn and have more. So for him, I know he knows it was about that. So I was like, why are people saying the game's over? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, calm down. Like, Aaron Rodgers is going to bring them back in the game. And that's exactly what he did. But unfortunately, down the stretch, especially like mid to end third quarter, and then like most of the fourth, it was a defensive game. Like, unfortunately, the Packers were getting shut out to stop the drives were stalling. And then on Brady's side, he had a terrible game too. Those 3 interceptions was just throwing, kind of like giving his guys a chance to just throw the ball up. I was like, he's honestly just gotta take that sack, throw it away. Typically, we don't see that too much from Brady. So, I think the defense obviously had his back in this one. But overall, unfortunately, the 2 things that it comes down to for me was, like I said, Aaron not running on the 3rd down. I feel like obviously he could have probably scored on that 3rd down conversion, but then also not going for it on 4th down, and him saying pretty much it wasn't his decision at all. So, and then also the holding call at the end, like you just said, they would let it go all game. There was 2 blatant ones that they missed on the Packers side of things. So it's kind of like why basically end the game in that way and fashion, calling the hold when you fences and letting it go all game. And we saw it on social media, all the big names saying, like Randall Cobb was saying it, Michael Thomas was saying it, a lot of ESPN and NFL analysts were saying it. Everybody was pretty much saying it. So it was unfortunate to see it end on that way. But me and some of the off the ball guys were talking about it. We're about to start, pretty much starting to hashtag anything for Brady, because they let that man have any and everything. Because I know we talked about it a little bit before, but I know you remember, like when we played them 14, 15, something like that, my Falcons, when at the end of the game, Leonard Fournette didn't get the 1st down, but they gave him the 1st down, and then they measured it and reviewed it, and still gave him the 1st down because the ref moved the ball up. It's just like stuff like that. You're not even giving the opposing team a chance. It's like we just need some type of consistency and fairness across the board, because you're doing stuff like that, and it's blatant now. Like, it's literally blatant. Like, to me, that Atlanta Falcons, it doesn't mean much to nobody, and it didn't really get much national attention. It's because my Falcons, pretty much butt this year. It's still, to me, that's like you gotta have some type of, just like I said, consistency and some type of just order. Like, you can't just have the ref moving the ball up, catching it on camera, then reviewing it, and then measuring it, and then still getting it wrong. It's just stuff like that. So I don't know, and I think it's a question I'm about to pose to you now. Do you think? I know they kind of did it a little bit last year, but do you think at all this upcoming year they're gonna start allowing, I guess, either challenging or allowing reviews for hold calls like that, like stuff like that? Like I said, I know they kind of did it a little bit, like you was able to challenge, certain rulings. But do you think this upcoming NFL season that's something that they take a look at and maybe start either letting coaches challenge holding calls like that in the game, or either just review it themselves?
They might. My personal opinion, though, I think they're just doing too much. Everybody's human. A ref's gonna miss a call every now and then. They have imagine being a ref. Like, I know people bash the refs, but seeing that stuff and calling it, catching it in real time is tougher than people think. So I think they're doing a little bit too much, but they might, because some of these blown calls are kind of like deciding the game.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal opinion is they should just leave it as is. It is what it is. Everybody's gonna have error. So that's just my take.
Yeah, and then honestly too, like I just said, which I'm about to ask you again about it as well. If they gave Aaron Rodgers that chance to even go for it on 4th down, they might not have been in that situation. Because personally, I think they had a play or 2 in their bag to where they could have scored that touchdown. They're on the 7 or 8 yard line, and even if not, north of 2-minute warning, you still got all 3 timeouts, and Tom Brady, who just turned the ball over 2 out of last 3-4 possessions, is on the 8 yard line. So you bring some type of pressure, maybe he turns the ball over again. You're just in a whole better, position versus, kicking the field goal, which I still understand why he kicked it. It's kind of like the same thing. You kick the field goal, you're down 5, and then your defense that has just stopped them with 2 out of the last 3 drives, only kicking the field goal on 1 of the drives. Basically put that defense out there again to try to stop Brady. But for you, I know you already said that you agree with kicking the field goal. I guess, why do you agree with kicking the field goal, and what do you feel like would have played out if they maybe would have went forward on 4th down and didn't convert?
I mean, I wouldn't say I completely agreed with it, but I agree why he did it, like his logic behind it, and that is the defense was playing lights out in the second half. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember how much time was on the clock, but it was like 4 minutes and some change. So he felt like with his timeouts in his bag and the defense playing the way they played, that he'd be able to get the ball back with some time on the clock, at least a 2 minute warning or at least a minute 40, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he kicked it. His defense was playing good. He felt like he would get the ball back. They forced 3 picks. They had to punt the ball. Their offense did nothing in the second half. If people don't realize that, besides that forced fumble and that one play after that, they did nothing. But if they went for it on 4th down, I really don't know what would have happened. They would have stood at the goal line. But like I said before, Aaron Rodgers, his arm strength, he can fit the ball into any window. So there's no telling what was going to happen. Maybe he hit Tanyan on the seam, Devontae. I don't think they would gave up a fade or back shoulder, but I don't know, man. There's a lot. We always in sports we can always say what if, so we don't know what would have happened. But they decided to kick the field goal and they never saw the ball again. So it's frustrating. I know Aaron Rodgers. He's a legendary top, in my opinion. Let me stop. I think he's going to be a top 7 quarterback of all time when it's all said and done. So I think with all the marbles on the line, all the chips on the line, you let them air it out on that last play instead of depending on your defense, even though they played lights out in the second half.
Yeah. What about the third down, that open space, that run? Do you feel like you should have kind of went for that?
Oh yeah, I don't. Everybody on Twitter, everybody's gonna have their opinion of it. I personally feel like as a quarterback, as a quarterback, you have some sense and awareness, and stuff like that. I feel like he felt Ndamukong Suh behind him, and then me personally, I know he had a step or two, but I don't think he's beating JPP to the corner, and I feel like he would have got hurt if he would have ran on that play. Like they would have tackled him on the shoulder, something like that. The way he was running, like he was running to the right pylon. He did not see Ndamukong Suh. Maybe he did. Maybe he sensed him, and that's why he threw it. Or he felt like he didn't have enough speed to beat JPP, because JPP is one of the more athletic Russians we have. So
yeah,
he's not a slow guy.
Yeah.
But what do I think happens? I think he gets like 4 yards. I don't even think he beats the guy to the pylon, or Ndamukong Suh tackles him from behind.
Yeah, which is a valid point, because I know we'll get to it later. Is when it's our game ball segment, but they was getting pressure all day, and the play before that, Ndamukong Suh did get there and pretty much make that tackle, made the play for Aaron to kind of not get the best of throw off. So it's understandable that he was seeing pressure all day from all angles. So for him to feel like he might not have that chance to run the ball toward the end of the game, obviously you're getting pressured all game, 4th down, or in the 4th quarter, 3rd down, you're in the goal in the red zone. He probably did feel some type of pressure, felt some type of sense, even if it wasn't there, that it could possibly be there. Like you just said, he could get hogged from behind, could be a bad tackle, anything could happen on that play. So you say, understand, but I personally still wish he would have ran for it. But I can understand, obviously, playing the game, like you just said, being a quarterback, like that, the other stuff factors in. Like he probably didn't know who was around him. Like he felt that he could have possibly took a sack on that play, but didn't realize, that no one really was in that vicinity to where they probably would have got him, and he could have scrambled to possibly score. So, I don't know. Like you said, it's neither here or there. Obviously, they didn't go for it, and then, end up not seeing the ball, and then Brady ends up going to his 10th Super Bowl, which is crazy to see. I saw a stat earlier, or a graphic. He's been in 48% of the 48% of the Super Bowls within the last, I forgot how many years. This is a ridiculous amount of years. But I think he's been in 18% of all the Super Bowls that's ever happened. Ever.
That's ridiculous. Going to 10, like, I don't understand. I don't think people understand how crazy that is. Some people, Aaron Rodgers, I remember that first Super Bowl he went to when they played the Steelers. That was like 2010. I remember getting a jersey that same year. I was on the bandwagon. Like, I mean, I liked him before, but I was on the bandwagon, and he literally hasn't been back to one since. Should have went back this year, especially the Seattle year. I don't even want to talk about that one. That one was aggravating, but just crazy, man. And Brady's been to 10. 10 Super Bowls, double digits. I don't care what anybody says. It's harder to get to the Super Bowl than it is the NBA Finals because it's only one game at a time. You know, you don't get 3 games to bounce back. You get that one game, and if you lose next year,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I knew it wasn't going to be a blowout, and hopefully, I was hoping because I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy as well. Obviously, for me this year, the Bucks are like the Saints. Like I hated the Bucks more than the Saints this year, and half of that has to do with Brady joining them and all this narrative and all the Brady fans. Because for one thing that is certain is no matter what's going to happen, he going to get the credit. And those 3 picks was definitely overseen. I feel like with a lot of people, even though I can't read too much into what people are saying on social media and all that, but those 3 picks and putting his team in a position to possibly lose down the stretch with Aaron Rodgers being a better quarterback on the field, that game was definitely overlooked. And all it is Brady, you know, Brady's done this, he's done that. Like he's taken this team, he's now the first, quarterback to take his team to a Super Bowl in their city and all this and that. So it's crazy, to hear and see, but you can't hate too much on greatness. He, did do it. He did bring his team, to like you said, a game that's incredibly hard to get to. Because like you said, it's one game. You have a bad game, you don't have a day or 2 of rest, and then you get back at it to possibly make up for it. It's one game, and that's it. So now we're gonna be seeing a baby goat versus, I guess, old goat matchup, which will be a pretty good one to see within the next 2 weeks. But next, we're going to move on to the AFC Championship game. This one, I think, probably didn't start the way we thought, but it definitely ended the way we thought it was going to end. So just your overall thoughts on the game, the Chiefs, and kind of what they did against the Bills this past weekend.
Exactly what we expected, a dominant performance by Pat Mahomes in the offense. A little shaky start, not because of them. They punted on the first possession, Cole fumbles, and they score. But other than that, like, I knew it was over. If there's one team I don't stress about, it's the Chiefs. 9-0 is nothing for them. That's literally a play or 2. And just like that, they snap back. You close your eyes, it's 21-9. Great game by Pat Mahomes. He played flawless, man. They talked about he had turf toe or a toe injury, but he looked fine to me. He was running out the pocket just perfectly fine to me.
Yeah.
Great game by him. Tyreek and Kelsey this playoffs and this season as a whole have been on the tear, just completely dominant the entire season. Cole made some plays here and there after his fumble. He had the TD in that long run on the reverse. Just a great game by them, Defense, the Chiefs, for some reason, I don't know what it is. They're not the best statistically, but they show up when it's needed. They make big plays. Like I stated before in the previous podcast, they have Honey Badger, Frank Clark, and Chris Jones were their main playmakers, but they just show up as a whole, man. They fly to the ball, and then when the playoffs come around, they seem to just make a couple of plays that help change the outcome. But, dominant performance. It is what I expected, and they're on to the Super Bowl. And we'll talk about the Super Bowl later, but I think you guys know what I'm going to expect.
Yeah. I knew that you just said 9-0 was nothing for them. Unfortunately, I don't know, like the Miko Harmon, fumble or whatever. Even with something like that with other teams, you kind of know like that can sometimes put a knife in the coffin early for other teams. But with the Chiefs, it's literally nothing. I saw earlier today, had like NFL inside, with the mic up and everything, just going over there and telling them, don't worry about it. Like, that's nothing for us. It's okay. Be you. We're gonna get it back. Next drive, they give him the ball 2 times. He ends up scoring on the on a little out route and everything. And from there, they pretty much just took off. Like I said, it was pretty much exactly what I expected. I didn't think it was going to be a close game at all. I know we talked about in our last podcast or our last episode that with me, the Bills, I say they had the 22nd, best or worst, whatever you want to say, pass defense, 17th worst rush defense. There's too many weapons for them to guard. Tyreek was making them look silly out there. And pretty much you can't, I say all the time, like, and I know other coaches say it all the time as well, but I feel like you have to have some type of balance, some type of run game in the playoffs especially. And have nobody to get the ball to run the ball. Like if Josh Allen is your leading rusher, which I've been saying all year, it ain't gonna work. And he had what 7, 8 carries or 88 yards. He can't do everything, unfortunately. But I think give kudos to the Chiefs defense as well. They had a good game plan for Stephon Diggs. They definitely took him away a lot of the game to where Josh Allen had to find Cole Beasley or John Brown, one of those two guys, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough. They made it. They did try to make it interesting towards the end, though.
Those are all garbage points.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying the onside kick. It looked like all right. They got the onside kick and then maybe scored on that drive because what was it? Well, they did score. It was a field goal, but they scored a touchdown and then maybe got it back again. Who knows? But again, like I said, even with all that was happening, they start off with a 9-0 lead. They still lose by 2 TDs. The Chiefs are crazy. They're unstoppable. They're definitely a dynasty in the making. So I guess before I move on to the next things, I want to ask you kind of about the Bills and how they may be able to get better, what the things they may need to add, the pieces they may need to add going into next year. But while we're on the Chiefs, obviously, as you said, they're pretty much kind of like a dynasty in the making. They got Pat Mahomes locked up for 10 years. They got some other guys on some pretty healthy contracts for the next 2 or 3 years. Do you see these Chiefs kind of emulating or becoming that next Patriots dynasty to kind of take over and maybe go maybe a 10, 15, maybe 20-year run?
1,000%. I don't know about the 2015 part. 10 might be pushing it, but they're going to become a dynasty. There's no way they can be stopped, man. Like Mahomes, I wish I was prepared for this so I had the ages. I didn't know we were going to talk about this part, but Mahomes is 25, Tariq's 26. McColl's younger than us.
Yeah.
I know Kelsey's the oldest one. He's like 30, but I think he has like 4 or 5 Pro Bowl, All-Pro type years. 4 All-Pro years left. So, man, they still got a long time to go at it. I know Andy Reid's getting old, but they have the great combo. Good GM and Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and the best quarterback we've seen in a minute. And when I say dynasty, like I don't know, because the NFL, we can't disrespect these other teams. This is not common what the Patriots did, but with this offense and the play calling and all that, I could see them getting. I think they're going to win this year, and then I could see them getting at least 2 or 3 in the next 5 years. So that makes them a dynasty 4 in like 6 or 7 years. We'll see, though. I don't want to disrespect any teams. I think my Jaguars are going to be in the mix once we get some pieces. So we'll see. But they're unstoppable, man. Like I kind of hopped on the bandwagon late, with Mahomes and stuff. But once I saw that first season, like once they got to the playoffs and stuff, I said they're going to win it next year. There's no way. Like they should have won the first year, and they were going to win it that year. And once I just saw them in the playoffs versus the Colts and the Patriots, I knew what it was.
Yeah, they would definitely but he didn't jump off sides. They probably more than likely would have won it, for sure. Because even though they played the Rams or Tom Brady,
they would have played the Rams crazy rematch from that Week 9 game on Monday night.
Exactly. So I think, like you said, same year, Mahomes is the real deal. Like you said, like halfway through that first season, I was kind of like, oh yeah, buddy's he's special. So I think they definitely have something in the works. And like I talked about it, some other guys from off the ball, all the guys on great deals, team-friendly deals, and they're like not guaranteed money type deals. It's like here's your money, and most of it's bonus type stuff. So like basically after certain years, like they're off the books. They don't own if they don't want to bring them back, obviously. Which I'm pretty sure Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, if he's still playing at the level he's playing at now, I'm sure they'll bring all these guys back. So. It's incredible to see, honestly. Like I said, they're so young, they're so talented. It feels like there's literally nothing you can do about them. And I know we're in for a great game on February 7th, which, like I said, we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But moving on to the other side of the Bills, like I said, I wanted to ask you kind of with them. Obviously, we see Diggs. He was the only Bill to watch the celebration. Kind of into other little things that we've seen this past year. I forget what, but I forgot somebody was watching a team celebrate as well before going in the locker room. But Anyway, with the Bills, they're young, they're pretty young, they're exciting. They got pieces on both sides of the ball as well. What do you think they need to add, or what do you think they need to address in the offseason to either get back to this spot or even overcome the Chiefs next year?
For me, I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball. I like, for one, first off, they need a running back. If you abandon the run game like that, I don't care who your back is. Obviously, you don't trust them or believe in them enough if you abandon it like that. And then the playoffs is when you lean on your run game. And then I would say their O-line is pretty solid because I see Josh Allen dancing in the pocket a lot. I would say get a wide receiver 2 for Stephon Diggs. Cole Beasley is a good slot guy, tough guy, played on a broken leg. They have some young, promising guys like Gabriel Davis, and I forgot who the other guy is, and John Brown. But I think they need a number 2 guy to take more of the pressure off of Stephon Diggs. They're good at the tight end spot with Dawson Knox. And then on the D-line, I would say get a pass rusher, like a third down guy, edge rusher, not a every down guy, but other guy that can help Ed Oliver and some of their other inside guys. And I think they're good on the outside with Levi Wallace, Witherspoon, Tre'Davious White, and then they could get a replacement for Micah Hyde and Poyer because they're getting older, but I think they'll be fine for a couple more years. So I'm just going to keep it on the offensive side, really. I'd say a wide receiver 2 and a running back for sure, and maybe an edge rusher. That's not a necessity, but wouldn't help to add pass rushers.
Yeah. With me, sorry, my camera went out. It'll come back in a second. But, yeah, like you just said, you pretty much hit the nail on the head and everything that I was going to say. They need to have a running back. They need to. Like I said, I've been saying it since week 6, 7. Like, they have, I think in total, they have like 1,700 rushing yards on the season. There's sometimes backs that get, 1,200-1,300 yards themselves on a season. So it's just crazy to see that they only had 1,700 rushing yards as a team. And I'm pretty sure half of that came from Josh Allen. But, yeah, they have to get a running back. I don't know if they give Zach Moss another year to develop in the system and then maybe take over that lead role and then have Devin Singletary be a change of pace back. But they just have to get a running back. They have to have some type of balance because you become too predictable. Every down you pass the ball, there's their defensive coordinators that can game plan for that easily. You're just making their lives a lot easier. So they got to address that part. I don't know if they draft one. Like I said, with just drafting Zach Moss this past year, but they got to do something about that on that side of the ball. Like you just said, they got to get some type of pressure. They got to get some type of either run help or edge help, or somebody that's a hybrid that can maybe do both. I know they got Ed Oliver. What 2-3 years now, something like that. I don't really know how well he's been performing, but I think having another edge guy would definitely help. I don't know if it's every down guy or if you just have a third down guy that can come in and obviously rush the passer, maybe give you a few sacks on the year. So I think those are 2 main things they need to address. Obviously, in the secondary, they got guys. They got really good guys. Like you said, they might be okay there for now. But maybe I don't even know how much Josh Allen really play. Maybe getting another, maybe another like lockdown type corner. Maybe another guy that you can have as your number 2, or whatever the case may be. Because like I said earlier, they were ranked 22nd in passing, so they probably need to address that as well. But they're not too far away, as you can see. They had an incredible season. I know they were your shout out last week, and to get this far, we see like last year they had a really good season. They added that number 1 receiver to give Josh Allen. See what happens when you give them that number 1 receiver. Maybe they add another toy and they sign another receiver in the offseason. Maybe Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay. This year, free agency for receivers is ridiculous. So it'll be interesting to see if they do think about adding one of those guys just to give Josh Allen that dynamic duo that there's 2 receivers that can pretty much go anywhere, and still have Cole Beasley as well in the slot. But yeah, they're pretty much destined for greatness too. But it's gonna be hard to try to overcome the Chiefs. It's gonna be hard for anybody to pretty much overcome the Chiefs, especially in the AFC. But to wrap up some of the football talk, or at least the AFC and NFC Championship, we'll hit on our game boss for the week. This segment, the next segment, Benjamin, probably is going to be pretty quick because we both have the same guys. But game ball for the week, I'll let you pretty much talk why you're giving your game ball. Yours was to the defensive line, I know. Mine was specifically to these two guys. I couldn't really find a picture with all the defensive linemen in it, but like I said, who's your game balls? Who are you getting your game ball to for the week then?
My game ball is going to the defensive line as a whole as well. Like you two guys played well, but Shaq Barrett, it was a collective. It was a group effort.
Yeah.
Pierre Paul, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea coming back off that ankle injury is good. Was not good. It was great for them because he's literally a run stuffer. And Aaron Jones, they kind of gave up on it a little bit. Aaron Jones was limited to 6 carries for 27 yards. So, it was a collective group effort. Vita Vea pushed the pocket, and Pierre Paul and Shaq Barrett were relentless. I know they didn't have Bakhtiari because he got hurt and he's done for the year, but they were just relentless, and they kind of, they made it tough on him. He wasn't, even though he got hot when they were coming back, but they kept pressure on him all game. He knew he had the clock in his head was going off a little quicker than usual, so they did their job, and they changed the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They helped make the quarterback make some quicker decisions than he wanted to, which forced him into some errors. So, shout out to the D-line.
Exactly. Yeah. For me,
I'm sorry, my fault. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I didn't mean to forget my guy Ndamukong Suh.
Oh yeah. That's all. I can the whole defense as well. I guess for me, I made myself choose, and I just chose the two guys that had multiple sack numbers. So obviously, Pierre Paul had 2, and I think Shaq Barrett had 3. But like you said, it honestly goes almost to the whole defense. Even Sean Morgan Button made it. Even though I think it was a hole, he made another very key play at the end of the second quarter with the Packers driving. So it was another collective effort by the defense. They definitely, outplayed themselves another week, pretty much emulating the same thing they did last week with the Saints. Came in ready and prepared this week, and it had to be done as well. Like we saw, again, Tom Brady didn't have, I guess, his normal game. He didn't have the greatest game taking care of the ball, but the defense overshadowed that. Got pressure on Aaron Rodgers, made him feel uncomfortable all game, which we already talked about, which is probably why he didn't run or made some questionable decisions down the stretch in the red zone. So those guys balled out for another week, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how they what Todd Bowles dials up for them in the championship game, because I know we've said it a few times, and you've definitely made it a point that Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. So for them, are they thinking about giving or bringing pressure by blitzing, or if they're just gonna try to rush forward and see if they can get to him that way? I know they lost Fisher probably for the year because I think he broke his tore his Achilles. Yeah, okay. I figured it was 1 to 2. So
it's gonna be big, man. He's without both of his tackles.
Exactly. That's all I was about to say. So maybe he does think about bringing a little bit of pressure, or like I said, just bringing 4. It's really going to be interesting to see what Todd Bowles does, because each and every week it's kind of been a little bit different. And he's gotten key guys back healthy that are, key pieces to that defense. So each and every week is like they're getting healthier, and he's bringing something different. So it's going to be a really good matchup, like we keep saying. I can't really wait to preview it, and I can't wait to watch it. But definitely shout out to these guys. They get the game ball for the week. My camera's back. Sorry about that. But yeah, for me specifically, Shaq Barrett and JPP. But say for you, defensive line as a whole. And then also we do our bench segment. This was another unanimous pick for the week. Did not do himself any favors throughout the entire game. But Kevin King, unanimous winner of the bench award, have to sit down. Dan, what did you see from the day?
I'm gonna go in a little in depth about why I did it. I already said the defensive coordinator didn't help him out by making the call, but for him, it's just like the IQ in that situation wasn't there. I know he has it. I know he's a good player. He actually had a decent season, so I don't want to bash him for this one mistake, but it was a crucial mistake that changed the game. When when you're a cover 1-for-1, I don't know why he's looking inside. It's not cover 3. You're not looking for an inside seam route. You're locked in on your man. In that situation, you're either looking for the out route, the bench route, or a go ball possibly, or something short for the field goal.
Exactly.
So I understand why he was backpedaling at first, but you got to think about who you're dealing with. You're dealing with the fastest receiver on their team. This is not Julian Edelman or Wes Welker. This is not a 4-7 little slot guy. This is a deep ball guy, a deep threat. So I know you're long and tall, but you gotta get back and at least don't let him run past you. Like he just let him run right past him. I know he's looking for the out route, maybe trying to bait Brady, but Brady's the GOAT. He's smart. He knows what you're thinking as well before you even think about it for the most part. And it just wasn't very smart, for him to backpedal like that for so long, to not respect the speed of Scotty Miller, and just not being aware. The time, what he was dealing with, the swing it caused, everything. It's just not a smart play by him. You can't leave. Mike Penn might lose his job actually because of how big of a call that was in the situation. But the player, you got to help the coach out. He made a bad call, but you got to do your job and guard your man.
Yeah.
It's not even like, oh, he just got beat because of the speed. Like his technique was terrible. It was a lazy backpedal. Like he was. I think he was trying to bait him for the out route, but in that situation, you just gotta. I don't even think you can bait somebody in that situation because 8 seconds left. Like it's too big of a. Hold him to the field. If anything, don't let him get behind you, tackle him, and make the guy make the field goal. I'd feel better about that than allowing a touchdown. And then you see how it changed the game. Those 7 points decided the game.
Exactly. Yep. Touchdowns not giving up. And so even a field goal giving up, but they lose by 5. Field goal giving up is 3, so they win by 2. Like you said, that touchdown decided the game. Like I said earlier, that fumble by Aaron Jones didn't help anybody out as well. But yeah, Kevin King. He has some other lapses in coverage as well. I know that the cheat to Mike Evans. He wasn't in a really great position either. But that one specifically, that one was kind of like, what are you doing? Exactly like you just said. Like it was a bad defensive call, but it was also like you just said, lazy technique. With 8 seconds left, and honestly, a short field on the other side of the 40. It's like, what do you think they're gonna do? They still got time to take a deep shot. Scotty Miller's in there, and like you just said, he's a deep threat, so you can't really try to bait him. Of course, like you just said, Brady's smart. He's been in the league for how many years, doing this for how long? He knows what you're doing, what you're thinking that you're about to do before you even do it. So for them to take the deep shot was, in my opinion, a little obvious, especially obviously given the type of defense that was being ran with only one safety high. But like you said, it was just bad technique, and you just got to back better. You got to get, just haul ass, get back there, a little quicker versus letting him get behind you. First get up on you and then let him get behind you. Like you said, not even be in a position to be able to make a play on the ball. You said at least keep it in front of you and try to force him to the field goal. So, but yeah, bench him for the week. Got to get to Kevin King. Like you said, he did have a pretty good season overall, but just didn't have the greatest showing of the first half, and it cost him in the end. So, right, we're actually going to move on to one of our newer segments. Call it Somethin or Nothin. This week we're calling it the quarterback carousel version of Somethin or Nothin. We're going to start with Aaron Rodgers. Actually, of course, after the presser, or in his presser after the game, Aaron Rodgers pretty much said a lot of guys' futures are uncertain, including himself. Which is, something I probably wasn't expecting him to say, but, coming off of a loss, sometimes you might have to just take things with a grain of salt. And then sometimes like this, obviously he's a big name guy. Stuff like this is going to be taken into consideration. People in the media is going to run with this. So, Dad, for you, what do you think of this statement? And is it something or nothing to you?
It's nothing. He's just trying to stir the pot. He's upset, which he should be, but he's just trying to stir the pot. The Packers did disrespect him by drafting Jordan Love. They pissed him off, but I mean, I called this at the beginning of the season. I say he was gonna have a breakout year, which is not really a breakout year, but a bounce back season, a better season. But he's not going anywhere. It's nothing. Like he's not going anywhere. After what he showed him at this age, he can play at least another 5 years at a high level, at least because Aaron Rodgers. So it's nothing. He's not going anywhere. I don't know what they're gonna do with Jordan Love, but yeah, it's nothing right now. He's not going anywhere. Maybe I don't know if they do something after next year if he just falls off a cliff, but to move him after this year would be completely ludicrous. MVP 48-5, couple plays away from a Super Bowl. Nah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I think with him, yeah, he feel a lot of emotion typically, and I would be heated as well given the situation. I keep saying it, but that's his fourth NFC Championship game that he's gotten to since 2014. It's the fourth one that he's lost. Probably didn't want to lose that one. He felt like this is probably one of their better years. It kind of felt like it was their time, like you just said, MVP caliber season. Probably will be the MVP of this year. 48-5. And we're just, especially down the stretch, last like 6, 7, 8 weeks, they were just clicking on all cylinders and they look good. They look like they can get to the Super Bowl and definitely give the Chiefs a run for their money. But, and like I said earlier too, just all the legacy stuff. He has one Super Bowl, which is obviously nothing to bat your eye at. There's a lot of guys I know that would wish to have that one Super Bowl. Matt Ryan, Marino, all these guys. So for him, I know it's more so, kind of about winning and in the moment, probably just upset. Obviously, they had just asked him about the fourth down, not going for it on fourth down, and that whole situation, saying it wasn't his call, and it kind of seemed like he didn't agree with the call, but he was pretty much saying it wasn't his call. So, like you just said, it's probably nothing. I definitely feel like he's there, for another 2 or 3 years. He said, I don't know if they just kind of if they keep Jordan Love behind him that entire time, to kind of let him learn and then groom him the same way they did Aaron Rodgers for Favre. But it would be insane to move on from him or whatever the case may be after the type of season they didn't have. They're probably only a few pieces away from making it back to the NFC Championship and then hopefully a Super Bowl appearance finally again. So I think this was nothing. Next, I had to find this one. Nice Photoshop job somebody did, but Deshaun Watson actually said, or kind of made it known, like the Jets would possibly want to be one of his destinations. Obviously, Miami has been, pretty much circulating. A lot of people say like Miami's the perfect situation. He goes to Miami and they could possibly be Super Bowl contenders. But he's come out, I guess, and said like, the Jets might possibly want to be one of his destinations that he wants to go to. Do you think this is something or nothing specifically because he said the Jets, and a lot of people just like kind of like why the Jets, but I think it's because he wants to kind of push the idea in the minds of the Miami Dolphins front office to make that move for him. So do you think it's kind of like a chess move by him? And overall, do you think it's something or nothing that he said he possibly want to play with the Jets?
Yes, I think it's a chess move, and I think it's something. We're hearing more and more from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport that Deshaun Watson done playing. Like he told his teammates, this is last down, and then he's going to force his hand to get out of Houston. So I think it's something, and I think it's a chess move. He's like you said, I think he's letting these GMs know that he's interested. Like, yo, come get me. Like Earl Thomas said to Pete Carroll a couple of years ago. And I think they'll do it. For the Jets, it'll be tough because they'll have to give up that number 2 pick, and they won't be good anytime soon. Even with Deshaun, not anytime soon, but within the first 2 years because they don't have any weapons. But Miami would be the better pick. But to answer your question, it's definitely something, and nice chess move.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. We already said last week it was something because of he pretty much just let everybody know like that's his last down in Texas. He wants to get out. And this is definitely going to continue to be one of the bigger stories going into the NFL offseason. In the NFL offseason, that we think there's going to be a lot of movement at the QB position. So definitely something. Obviously, the nothing part for me is like going to the Jets, saying that's where he wants to go. Obviously, that's nothing. It's more so like we've been saying. He's trying to force the hands of other GMs to kind of make that move for him. I guess specifically in this point, the Dolphins, just because they're in the same division, obviously with you know, the Dolphins. So I think nothing about wanting to go to the Jets. They're just so far away, need so much help to even make that team comparable for him, to make it a winning squad. But definitely something, just the fact that he's gonna be out, he's gonna be somewhere. It's just a matter of time of where and who makes that move. And there's a lot of teams that have the capital to do so, including Miami and the Jets. For the Jets, I don't know. It would definitely, it would be a weird fit. But for them, I think they have a good amount of draft picks as well. They had the capital to give it up. Like, obviously, I guess the question first for you, I think I've seen it. It's probably gonna take Sam Darnold, maybe 2 first-round picks. I think another player I saw. But what do you think it would take for, I guess, the Jets to get Deshaun, and what do you think it would take for Miami to get Deshaun?
In both deals, they have to give up their quarterbacks unless. Miami will have to give up Tua, and Jets. They both have to give up their quarterbacks. But like you said, they both have multiple first-round picks. So I'd say for the Jets, it would have to be Sam Darnold, the number 2 pick in their first next year. And then for Miami, it would be the same thing. The quarterback, Tua, number 3 pick. Number 3 or number 4 pick, and a first next year. I don't think they would give up both their first in the same year. But they might, because you're getting a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
So
another young guy with 25, 26, or about to turn 26. So definitely, like I said, another franchise quarterback. And he's shown so much even this year, shown so much in the offense where they gave up his number 1 receiver to begin the year. So yeah, I think it's possible. Like I said, if I'm Miami, I think I'm highly considering making the move, because you kind of seen, even though it's his first year, coming off injury, being inserted in full, so much. Tua, I'm sure he will have a bright future, but I think any day of the week I'm taking Deshaun over Tua, especially going into next year.
No question.
Like, that puts you in the Super Bowl. That puts you obviously in your division. You got to battle with the Bills now, and you never even know. Like with the Patriots, they get all their guys back, given that they do opt in, and then make a move, make a few moves on the opposite end. They're not going nowhere either. So like in division, you still have a lot of competition, but I still think with the way they played this year ahead of schedule, they definitely need to be making this move. And honestly, become my favorite team to watch, to be honest. But like Spo 36 says, it's going to be the quarterback shakeup. This is why we're calling it Somethin, Nothin quarterback carousel. It's going to be record breaking in 2021, because actually we're going to talk about this next guy as well, Matthew Stafford. Him and Detroit Lions have already agreed that they're going to part ways this offseason, and Matthew Stafford will have a new home. We don't know where yet, of course. There's a lot of teams that are looking to upgrade at the quarterback position. So first off, obviously I think it's something, just because it's already happened. They've already agreed to part ways. I guess I'll throw out some team names, and maybe you say Something or Nothin to these specific destinations. But the ones I think I've seen the most: San Fran, New England. I think the Texans as well, just because Deshaun's going to be out, and what's the other? I have to think of that. But those 3 for now, I guess: Patriots, San Fran, Texans.
The Texans one is nothing, but those other 2, San Fran and New England, I can see those happening. And I'm going to add another one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the Colts.
Oh yeah, that was the other one. Yeah, the Colts, Indianapolis.
Yeah, those are all QB teams that need a quarterback. It looks like the 49ers are going to part ways with Jimmy G. They've seen his ceiling. So, hey, man, those are all 3 good fits, and he would all make those teams better. Him and Kyle Shanahan's offense, he can move a little bit. Like, he's not a runner, but he's athletic enough to be same athleticism as Jimmy G, so he can, get out the pocket. But That's scary, man. Like they said, Deshaun with Kyle Shanahan, Matthew Stafford. I gotta talk about this a little bit. I know it's supposed to be quick, but he's been my guy. I'm a Florida State fan, but growing up in Georgia, I've always watched Georgia. But even before him, with David Green and Muhammad Massaquoi, all them Muhammad Massaquoi, No Sean, AJ Green, and Matthew Stafford. Like I used to watch them all the time. So he's been one of my favorite quarterbacks forever. And they wasted his career in Detroit. He had Megatron. He had some decent years, but they never surrounded him with a defense. And they waited late to surround him with people like Galladay and Marvin Jones, but that's when the defense fell off. So they never the organization didn't surround him with the proper people to be successful. And I'm glad that he's finally parted ways. He doesn't want to go through another rebuild, another coaching change. He's decided to move on, which I think is best for him.
Yeah.
So not the organization.
Yeah. And
they'll find out soon that all this time they had quality QB play was more than just the quarterback, but they'll see. Yeah, the quarterback play won't be the same.
Yeah, they thought it was leadership as well with coach, obviously, letting Jim Caldwell walk at a 9-7 record. Fortunately, they took playoffs, but those were probably his most competent years when they had Jim Caldwell at the helm. But bringing in Matt Patricia kind of shook everything up, and now they're in like major rebuild or looking like major rebuild mode. But like you said, they could probably it could be even more major because, like I said, Kenny Galladay as well. Which he was looking like before he got hurt this year, number one option, number one receiver. He's looking to get paid this offseason. So it can be without quarterback. Once they go with one in the draft, they can be without a number one wide receiver. I think Marvin Jones is also as well due for another contract. So they can be without some major pieces on the offensive side of the ball, which is definitely unfortunate for them. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I would love to see him. I don't think I can say that I would love to see him in New England. I don't think I'd love to see anybody in New England. I just obviously don't like New England. But it would be interesting to see him, like you say, in New England or with the Colts because both of those teams typically always have great defenses. And like you just said, he's never been surrounded by a great defense. So I guess the best option right now would probably be the Colts just because with New England, they don't really have too many weapons. They always have a plethora of decent running backs, but at wide receiver right now, it's my old friend Jacoby Myers. He was the number one receiver this year. So
yeah,
you never know what Bill or how Bill's thinking about going about this draft. I don't know if he trusts drafting another receiver in the first round, even though it's a great deep year for receivers. But we still how that kind of panned out with N'Keal Harry. I know he probably hasn't had the bears of shakes because he's been injured a lot as well, but. One of those two places I think would be really good for him, just because he'll finally have a defense to back him, and then hopefully have offensive weapons that he's capable of working with, which I'm sure both teams will either have or bring in to start the next season. So, but I guess out of those two teams, or which, like I said, I know you added the Colts. Do you think that's the best destination, best situation for him at the moment?
It'd be a tie between the Colts and 49ers, and I'd say. I don't know who I lean more towards because my first guess would be the Colts, but the 49ers are really banged up. So they even though they competed a little bit at times this year, they're banged up. They were missing Bosa. Sherman's not coming back, but they were missing most of the receivers most of the season, a lot of people. So I don't know. Those are both playoff ready rosters in my opinion. So both would be a good fit. Both have good young head coaches that are good play callers. Good GMs, John Lynch and Chris Ballard. So, hey, both of those are win-wins for me. New England, I wouldn't go there because at his stage in his career, Belichick's going to surround him with a good defense, but I don't think they have the offensive weapons and, supporting cast to win now. Stafford's not too old, but you don't have 10 years left. So, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an interesting offseason as a whole.
I don't want him in the AFC South, though. I will put that out there. I don't want any more quarterbacks. Deshaun's leaving, which I'm very happy about. Like, people don't understand. These other quarterbacks are on their way out, so our stock should be rising. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because then all y'all would have to worry about really is Tannehill, I guess.
Yeah, he'll be out of there in a couple of years.
Yeah, so it like you say, I guess for you, it's personal gains, personal reasons, but I think there's going to be at least one quarterback making their way into that division. It got to be, obviously, because the Texans Deshaun's obviously out, and the Colts are looking for him to feel retired. But overall, it's gonna be a great offseason. I can't wait to cover it. I can't wait to see who goes where. Especially with these skill positions, like I said, receiver and quarterback wise, it's gonna be a lot of turnover. And it's gonna be exciting to see these new faces on new teams. But yeah, man, that does it for today's show. Of course, like I said, I had to start off honoring the great legend, 824, Kobe Bean Bryant. Done so much, on and off the court. Done so much for, it's us as, just people never met him before, but obviously just like that moment mentality that sticks with you. Seeing his hard work and his, just everything he puts into his game or whatever he may be doing, that definitely transpires, and that something that you can get behind and inspires you as a whole. So, like I said, shout out to Kobe Bean Bryant. It's been 1 year. Hank Aaron as well as Seiko Smith. Those guys. So appreciate you, of course, again, everybody for tuning in, for watching that, of course, for being here with me and being my host or being my co-host. Anything you have to say before we head out today?
Another great episode. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. Like I always say, we're gonna come to you guys with more content. And like you said, RIP to the lives we lost, but special shout out to Kobe Bryant and his daughter and the 7 people that passed away with him. It's a tough day. Like I'm not even related to Kobe, but when he passed, I felt like I lost a relative. I might have even shed a tear or two. It's just, it's tough, but God does everything for a reason. So just pray that the families that were affected stay strong and keep faith, because times will get better, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully time heals all. Like I said, it's hard, taking a husband, a husband, a sister, a husband, a brother, a dad, an uncle, all those things away from these people. But like I said, hopefully, brighter days are ahead, and instead of mourning still at this time, maybe we should just continue to celebrate, which I know that's what it was all about. Just continue to celebrate, push forward, and just continue to carry that mountain mentality throughout whatever we do in our day-to-day lives. So thank you, of course, everybody, for tuning in again. Another great episode. Thank you for everybody. Out the blog, you guys kind of know where to find us. Facebook at What the Game Means to Me, Twitter at WTG MTM Podcast, and then on Instagram at What the Game Means to Me as well. That's it for another episode today, guys, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.